Hello there, Azer here, back with another video. Now, I usually cover this game like pretty rarely, but this time they actually just recently released a live stream video, which is, well, unexpected, I guess, because a lot of people are knowing that the game actually has announced the launch date at July 1st, so for them to actually cover more about the game is, understandable because, of course, most of the player base who actually are fans of this game back when they actually play the beta is definitely going to be curious on what changes that they have actually been done towards the launch of the game. So I guess that's the reason why I actually make this video, because the changes that they actually made to the game for Mecha BREAK is just phenomenal. It's just absolute cinema, I guess you could say it. Like, wow, unexpected. Um, so let's actually cover the points that they actually talk about in the video. And firstly, they have changed a lot of things in comparison to the beta release. Like, when I played the beta, originally there is some huge issues here and there in terms of like the progressions, the in-game currency earnings, the competitiveness of the game, the balance issues in the matchmake mode. All of these things are actually being addressed by player feedback. Wow, you never actually hear about that kind of stuff in a lot of live service games these days, by the way. So the fact that they actually hear from us and literally went silent just to change all of these things for the better, it's really speaking a lot on how, a lot of games should actually follow their steps as well. Because say what you will about like live service games and extraction shooters and whatnot, right? For the most part, those developers always just make their own games and not care about their player base for the most part. And what happens next? Well, it's either the game is successful or the game is just completely become a niche, have lost all of the player base and just become a niche game. And that is usually the way for most live service games. But Mecha BREAK here is doing something different. Firstly, they change it such a way that, okay, if you want to play the tutorial mode, sure, go ahead. If you are a veteran player, or if you have already played the beta and you don't really care about like the tutorial part because you want to get into the action as soon as possible with your friends, you can literally skip the tutorial and even skip the cutscenes of unlocking each max one by one. Like, wow. Okay, that is a good QOL, but that's really just the beginning of the changes that they actually made on response to the feedback of the players. So after that, they actually showcase more game modes. Like, there is actually all of the features, the gameplays, the game modes that are actually being locked since in the beta is now all accessible at launch. Of course, they don't really like go into more of it because they are teasing it for us so that we can actually find it out about it in the launch stage, of course. So they don't really like talk that too much about it, but there is a lot more content to be featured there. I guess there is actually much more content other than just matchmake mode and everything. But I think the huge thing about this, however, is like all starting max that originally require like in-game currency to unlock are now free and are free to unlock from the start. There's no progression needed or buying them like in the beta or earning specific max in the beta, so that you had to, in order for you to actually unlock a certain mech back then, even in the beta, you need to actually complete a certain battle pass. And it sucks because that battle pass mech is one of my favorite mechs to use back then when in the closed beta, and it's so it just feels bad in my mouth because imagine locking something that is actually your favorite stuff back in the closed beta into like a battle pass of sorts that you either need to pay the money for or you need to play a lot of uh, games to unlock for, you know, like really it just leave a bad taste in my mouth because why don't allow all the players to have access to all the mechs from the get-go, or just make it much more accessible to all new players and veteran players alike? Because in the end, right, this is just a PvP game, right? For the most part, everybody should have all the choices instead of like only gating certain mechs in behind currency and not allowing people who actually played the game more to unlock them. It's just unfair when you are playing against other players, because if the other players are able to unlock newer mechs or better mechs that cost a lot that the newer players are unable to unlock, then it's going to be a not such a fair gameplay, right? When you are playing against in PvP against other players. So that's the reason why they actually allow us to now have access to all of the 12 starter mechs from the start. So you don't really need to like care about them. You can just choose any one of those that you actually like and prefer to play and just start the game immediately. No progression needed, which is a huge change. So with this feature, right, you can actually get other friends to join you and play with them easily, because your new friends are going to come into this game and say, hey, oh wow, there's a lot of mechs for me to start with. Nice. I don't really need to waste time and grind and everything just to unlock them anymore. Great. You can now, you know, onboard your friends easier now than ever at launch day. After that, they actually showcase that you can actually customize more stuff in your profile cards, I guess. I guess this is pretty cool because now you have achievement points. That means if the more achievements you actually unlock, you can use those achievement points to actually showcase more of your own achievements in your player cards. Yeah, this is pretty nice QOL just in general, so that you can actually flex your stats, you know, when you actually get MVP or something like that, or if you are actually fighting against like in the leaderboards and you are actually fighting against enemies or playing against competitions. I guess is actually going to be a very cool feature for people who love to flex their own stats and stuff and kill ratios, kill death ratios and stuff like that, I guess. One of the huge changes that I actually did as well in the launch is that mods are now only exclusive to the Mash Mag mode, which is their extraction shooter mode, I guess. And it is not, there is no mods anymore in the PvP mode, which is huge because back in beta or like in the closed beta, players who actually unlock like mods, they are usually able to, you know, increase the performance of their mechs to a certain degree that they are able to outperform new players that don't have mods or use proper mods, you know, at the start. So basically making the PvP mode much more balanced in comparison to whatever we had in beta. So you don't really need to care about your mods or how do you upgrade your mechs or how to adjust your mechs so it actually have an optimal performance anymore in the PvP modes, which is huge relief for me, because a PvP mode, right, like for example the 6 versus 6 or the 3 versus 3 should not have like things like that is going to cause like an imbalance in between like the enemy team and your team. Because imagine if you have one of your players is a new player and they don't really have any mods, right? They would just get wrecked when they are playing against players who have decked out mechs with a lot of mods, right? Because that's just unfair. And the fact that they actually did this because of our feedback is huge. Most games don't even care about this at all. And yeah, it's pretty nice. So basically the extraction shooter, which originally has all of the, you know, upgrades and the armaments and weapons, gears, gliders and everything and so on, are now all earnable in game. And if you lose them by getting destroyed in Mashmac or in the extraction mode, well, you lose them forever. But the good thing about this is that you can actually accumulate them. So think of it like a progression item that is temporary, like for example, armors and weapons that you can actually find in the extraction shooters that you can keep for yourself. And if you die, you lose them. The same, it's literally the same thing as like in other extraction shooters, I guess. But don't worry about it, because you can actually accumulate enough of them to keep it as the storage. I guess keep them in your storage and only getting them out when you need them, and actually assemble them yourself with parts found in the gameplay mode. So everything now looks more like an extraction shooter rather than like another progression hell, in comparison to like the previously in the beta gameplay mode, because apparently players are able to actually use overpowered gears and armaments, like for example the autocannons back in the beta, which is very overpowered, and it caused like a huge imbalance in power when they are playing against other players in the matchmake mode. So now they make it such a way that each of the gears and overpowered tools that you can actually bring into matchmake will have a certain battle combat score. So that means if you want to play at the lower difficulties, usually you cannot really bring a lot of overpowered stuff. You can only bring like bare bones things in like lower difficulties, so that it will be fair for new players. And if you want to bring the strong weapons and the way more powerful gliders and armaments and stuff like that, you can bring them, but only on higher difficulties, where the veteran players would actually, join and would only able to use them at that mode alone, and that on that difficulty alone, which is way better than whatever we have at the beta. And this is huge because they also change it in such a way that the bosses, the PvE enemies are actually much more aggressive and much more dangerous now in the matchmake mode, which means that all of these high-powered armaments is not just for dealing with other players in matchmake, but also for dealing against those pesky enemies in the PvE mode. So it's very nice that they are now focusing more towards the PvE side, because previously in beta, some PvE enemies are just way too easy, and you can just easily kite them or just abuse or exploit them very easily by just just keep shooting them from afar, or just exploit their weaknesses, or just wait to ambush other players. And it just does not feel that good back then in beta, when come to think about it. So the fact that they are actually changing it completely and only putting mods and progression systems only in matchmake is a huge thing, because people who enjoy PvP modes or the 6 versus 6 modes don't have to care about mods anymore. They only had to care about it when they wanted to play this extraction shooter mode, which is fair. And it's because there's a combat score now, you don't have to worry about balance issues. So yeah, it's a good thing overall now. Now, other than just that, they have a huge overhaul on their hangars. So basically, right, previously the hangars have some interactable stuff, but it looks more like a fluff kind of features, I guess, back then in beta when I actually played it. So the hangar is most likely just a nice looking lobby that you can actually meet your friends and matchmake and maybe interact with some little stuff, and that's it, right? But now, instead of that, they now expanded the whole hangar system. So hangars now have like more interactable stuff, like for example in your room now you can access your terminals, you can sit in your chair, you can have a bath like usual, but now the bath has water. You can actually see water on the walls now, which is much more immersive, I guess. And you can interact with NPCs to talk about like the story elements. They can actually tell you stuff. You can even dance with a robot in the future, which is crazy. And of course, other than that, you can even and get this, you can even check out your own mechs in the hangar bay, where you can actually park, you can actually, like, even adjust the whole hangar floor so that you can move to a better position to take a better picture with your own mechs. And it's crazy because these kind of features are only existing in games like Star Citizen, by the way. Like, interactable hangars at Star Citizen level on a free-to-play game is huge, bro. Like, it's insane. Not to mention, all of the Mech gears and stuff and gliders and everything is also interactable, and you can preview them in life size in a special separate hangar as well, which acts as your inventory for all of the armaments and stuff and gears that you actually collected by playing the Mech mode. And all of them are customizable in paint colors, and you can change stuff and customize them to your own liking. Wow, amazing, right? Like, wow, who could have known that, allowing customization actually changes the whole immersiveness of the game and increases the interactions and interactability of a game somehow, makes it feel completely different, right? And wow, considering that this game is a free-to-play, it now has more features than even like a AAA game like Armored Core 6. Wow, amazing. Like, they don't really need to add all these small little things, but the fact that they did is literally showing that they have a lot of passion in this Mech game, the dream Mech game that they wanted to create for us all. And it's amazing to see that, free-to-play live service developers actually go out of their way to do all these features just so that they can make the world more believable than just a glorified matchmaking lobby like every other extraction shooters and PvP games. Like, all of these things are optional, but they actually went out of their way to do it, and that's amazing. Like, you have to remember, right? For the longest time, I always wanted a Gundam game that has, things like this, like a place where you can hang out with your friends as pilots, and a place where you can also show your own mechs, your customizations of your mechs to be shown, like in full size, like in a hangar that can interact and you can hang out with your friends. You can literally customize that hangar as well, by the way. And all of these features are completely free for you on launch, which is crazy. Like, they don't really need to do all this, but the fact that they did it really says a lot of their game. And it's just amazing to see how far this game has come to since beta, because at first I thought, this is just going to be another one of those PvP matchmaking focus, so the lobby is just an afterthought. You don't really need to care about the lobby parts. The only thing that you can do in the lobby is just customizing your mechs. But no, they went out of their way and do all these things just because they think it's cool, and it's amazing. Not to mention that they actually showcase about like all those, they showcase another new mech that uses 2 swords, and then there's a sort of new support mech as well, but they did not elaborate more of it. But wow, what can I say about all these updates in this live stream? It's amazing. Imagine if all live service games ever, every live service free-to-play games do this, right? This should be the bare minimum. This should be the effort that I see in most live service games. And the fact that Bandai Namco did not do all these features at all in their live service Gundam games or whatever, it's just baffling. Like, not just this, by the way, like other live service shooters or free-to-play extraction shooters, by the way, they don't really go out of their way to do features like this. Interactable hangars, third-person views, photo modes. These kind of things are supposed to be things that are, optional, because, those developers or publishers always just wanted to monetize the players for the most part. But the fact that they did all this shows the passion, shows the love, shows how passionate the developers are, and not just creating a game that is fun, but creating a game that is actually cool, a game that is believable, a game that's, you know, the best ever Mac game of their dreams is actually reality, a reality for them. And the fact that Gundam franchise had to go for the NFT route instead of doing stuff like Mecha BREAK is just pitiful. And I hope, you know, Bandai Namco or just whatever publishers that are publishing Gundam games should actually see what this team, this bunch of free-to-play live service developers have done with their own take on the Gundam Mecha franchise. Take, you know, like I wish most of those Mecha games would do stuff like this, because this is what a Mech game should be. A Mech game shouldn't be just like, oh yeah, whatever, right? Like everything is on the Mech. The pilot is not really like the important thing. No, I believe, you know, the potential of this game to be huge is great now, because imagine if, you know, Mecha BREAK is able to collab with other Mech titles or other franchises, and they can create their own, you know, decorations, their own customizations for their own mechs and stuff like that, and imagine the possibilities, right? Not to mention their gameplay is already stellar. Now they added all these things, and it's just gonna be the best Mech game ever. Like, surely AAA games, AAA Mech games should be able to follow stuff like this or do stuff like this, right? But yeah, this is all the showcase that they have been doing in this short little live stream that they have done, and it's so amazing. It's absolute cinema. I did not expect much from just a small little live stream, but the fact that they did it is impressive. So I guess eventually when this game releases, I'm definitely going to be covering it a lot more, because previously it was pretty clunky when I played the beta. But now that I see their effort and how much passion they're actually pouring into this game, you know what? This is probably going to be one of those main games that I'm gonna play, you know, constantly. And yeah, that's it. What do you think about the game, and do you actually feel like you wanted to actually play it more now, since that you look at this live stream now? Do you really think that this game is worthwhile to play now? Because now, since you can just unlock all of the mechs from the starting point, you can just easily invite your friends to just play with you now, which is even better. Let them know the amazingness, the potential of what a mecha game could bring to the whole gaming genre. And this is it. This is what all of the mecha games should strive on. You know, this is what all mech games should strive in. And this is what every mech game fan's dreams are made of, okay? And that's it. I'm Baser, and I'll see you next time. Sayonara.